And hello again. While we're on the topic of using some existing images to create some great background skies, I wanted to bring your attention to this awesome website called Pexels. And it is not misspelled. Well, I guess it refers to pixels, but or pictures excellence or something like that. It is a free website, a website with with lots of imagery that you can use even commercially. So look for things like cloudy skies, and you will find some interesting looking backgrounds as well. And in fact, I'm going to use this one here as something we can use for both the elevation map for the terrain as well as for the background sky. So that's something that you can certainly explore as well. What you see here could be simply the background in the sky, but it can also be the basis for an elevation map. You have some dark parts that will be lower elevation. You have some bright parts that will be higher elevation. And of course, you can invert it and then also paint over it and do all sorts of other things. So let's see where we can take that. And I want to thank Simon Matzinger for donating this picture. And so what we'll do is we'll right click and go the lazy route here. Open image in new tab. And I think we should, oh no, look at that. Oh yeah, there it is, copy image. So that should be all we need. We don't need to save it to our file system, although it may be useful. But now I'm going to go image paste, if it's there somewhere. Or you know what, we can actually do that simply with the Control V keyboard shortcut. So if I go Control V, there it is. I may need the focus on the main window. If you selected any of the menus or some other window or came from another window, it may not have that keyboard focus. So if nothing happens when you hit Control V, make sure you just click on the outside or even on the inside. It doesn't matter if you paint over it. We're about to replace it anyway. So Control V now sees an option to take that image from the clipboard and paste it into the existing image. Now this one's too small to hold it, so we should use the replace the existing image, or even store it if we want to just take a look at it first and decide what to do next. So once we've done that, we can say, okay, let's say pull this little triangle down here for the pull down menu, and we can replace the existing image. Creates a new image. All right, so let's see how big that image is. We go to the image menu, image info, and 1880 by 978. So that's great. I think we would want to keep it at that level. I'm going to go a little bit smaller simply because I'm on a slow system and I don't want the rendering time to take your time. So I'm going to make it half that size. Image, resample. Let's make it half the size. 940 by 489. That's not a nice dimension. I don't like odd numbers, so we're going to even squeeze it a little bit here. Let's make it 488. 488. And of course that tends to, because it's constraining the log here, I'm going to make this one exactly something different. Let's see, 940. 940, there you go, times 488. Okay, so now we have a nice panoramic. We have a selection mask. Let's go clear that selection. And now let's go store a copy of this. The old original we might want to keep. I'm going to toss it. I'll be daring. And let's see what we can do. So if we want to use this as an elevation map, we may want to look at it as a grayscale. Now, when you do the grayscale from the image menu, you can go image menu and then either take an average or perceptual. That one is a bit more focused on how the eye sees it, given the nonlinear behavior of the retina. At least that's, I think, what it is. I have no idea. Actually, I'm just trying to make sense of it here. But there is also use color lens, and that one allows you to be a little bit more specific on, like, using a color lens to concentrate on some colors and maybe enhance the contrast a little bit that way. Now, if you didn't enhance the contrast yet, you can do some more from the image menu and go right here under expand dynamic range. So now we know we have some pixels that are completely black and we have some pixels that are completely white. Right? So that's the idea, is to spread it as much as possible. And maybe we'll want to make it seamless. We may want to do that again later, but let's start already now. Make seamless so that we have something that can be tiled vertically and horizontally. Let's remember we're doing about, let's do exactly 22 and 22% overlaps. All right, so that's an image that we'll use for the elevation map. Now, we don't have to use the exact same one for the sky. We could. This would be a great image for the background skies. The upper part will barely be visible until we turn the camera up to the ceiling. But this side here is really great because it has fine detail, has a lot of contrast. So that could be really useful for the elevation map as well. Excuse me, for the skies. I still like this one too, though. So I'm going to keep this one because it also has some color. Keep in mind we can adjust, and we probably should usually adjust hue, saturation, value, and also the contrast. So there's a couple of things you can do here if you need it a bit less saturated or more saturated. Different hue, go to Venus, go to Jupiter, go to Mars. It looks different out there. And then also the brightness. So let's say we want something more of a evening sky with less brightness. Of course, we can also adjust the intensity of that, or in terms of the global illumination effect it has in Puppy Ray. All right, so let's keep this one here, and perhaps we need one bright something, like a bright star. Let's go to the gradients. Where are they? Here is the gradients tool. Right-click that, and there is the nova. And with the nova, we can go and perhaps take, let's see, let's set the black primary color to kind of a bluish, bright blue, and the secondary color to something like purplish, something like this. All right, so now we have, with the left button, using this tool, the nova tool, we can add a bright star around here, and again, and then also with the right button, a little bit more purple. All right, so we have a bright presence here, and hopefully we'll see that when we use this as a sky. Now, this one is not seamless yet, so we'll want to make this one seamless because we don't know yet in which direction we'll look at the sky. We could also, if we knew in which direction we'll look or what part we want to see initially, let's say if we wanted that part to be seen, we can shift it. But before we do that, definitely want to make it seamless. So let's go make seamless, and this is mostly horizontal seamless. We don't care so much about the vertical in this case. So let's go a little bit overlap there, and there you go. Let's store this one. This is a good sky to use. Let's go and now we use the filter with the shift. So transform, shift, and we can grab the hand and just shift it sideways. Now, it's inevitable that you'll also shift a little bit up and down. So just after you have the horizontal movement done, roughly where you want it, never mind this little detail, we'll just set that back to 0, so there is no vertical shift in the y-axis. But this one here, maybe we want an even 240. Let's make it 240. There you go. So with that, we have the image we really want to use for the background sky. All right, so let's store this. And that means if we want to use it as the background sky, we need to make it the custom brush. So let's go here and use as brush. Okay, we can store that brush just the same as we store images and animations and some other things. This asset, the brush, can be stored right here. Store and manage a copy. And we don't really need to do much. We could still change the hue, saturation, value, and other things there, so that's a good thing to know. I'm going to minimize this just so we have a placeholder here, and I'm going to minimize the sky and this one too, and I'm going to load, so I'm going to click inside to load this as the elevation map. All right, so what's to expect from this elevation map? Pretty much it's going to be, let's see a few more times here. We need to expand dynamic range. There you go. Let's keep that as our honorable elevation map. Let's minimize these. So this elevation map is going to look pretty interesting, I think. Let's have a look. Let's make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to use the Control-Shift key and the right button to zoom out a little bit. And then I'll keep this over here. And then I'm going to go to Transform, Puppy Ray, GPU. All right, so with this, this time I don't want the water. I mean, it's beautiful. but I don't want the water. So I'm going to go first turn off. There's a more option for that.